I think it's going to all depend on this new Congress. I think it is a given. It is absolutely a given that Democrats are going to lose a whole lot of seats. We knew that going into this election cycle. Democratic candidates are prepared, but we do know for a fact that there will be many Democrats who are currently there now that won't be there after November 2nd. We knew that. The question is whether control of Congress is going to revert back to the Republicans. I know that folks think it's a foregone conclusion that that's going to happen. I would say not so fast, because Democratic voters, Latino voters included, are starting to realize, to pay attention, what is at stake here. And I think what is at stake is all of the issues that you just mentioned: economic progress, investments in education, the future of our families, the future of our children, and continuing to try to fix this huge economic mess, which frankly was the fault of the failed economic policies that Republicans put in place when they were in power. And they have not been able to offer any new solutions. So for any voter that goes out to vote or is even thinking about staying home, I say, including Latinos, of course, do your homework, really look at what's at stake, and especially in our community, look who has been at our side. Even though progress might not have been as quickly as we might have hoped, that progress is not going to become a lot quicker if we vote into power a group of lawmakers that have been basically absent, and not just absent, but they have turned their back on our community.
Latino unemployment has continued to rise during this administration. Foreclosures have been just a devastating blow to the economic future of Latino families. Do people make decisions on voting associating bad times with who's in power, bad times with the status quo? And is that make it a difficult next Tuesday for Democrats who are hoping to gain Latino votes, that whether they are directly responsible or whether they didn't do enough to fix it, or whatever you've concluded, because they're in power now and I feel bad now, I'm going to vote to punish the people who are in charge now?
I don't think the Latino vote is yet at the punishable stage, right? They are overly optimistic still with President Obama. I think that the Latino vote is going to be the October surprise. Everyone's looking for a scandal. I think this is it. Part of it is because a lot of the polling, especially at the local level, also doesn't include cell phones, right? Absolutely. The majority of the Latino community is on cell phones. And the fact that, and the same thing, ditto for young voters, they're on cell phones. They were the ones that actually brought this administration into power, and it's really going to be, we're 6 days out of the election. That's a lifetime. Yeah. And there's still a lot of work to do. So I don't think that it's as clear cut yet, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than we see.
Well, you're a public opinion researcher. Yes. Can things break in 72, 96 hours? There's not much time left.
Yeah, I don't know, but I would certainly say that with regards to...
No, not in this particular case, but do people change their sentiments the weekend before, or develop a voting conviction the weekend before?
It's possible, and it can happen. It depends on different races, it depends on what's happening, it depends on all sorts of things, and there's a lot of folks who are still undecided nationwide. But one of the things that we've seen in Pew Research Center polling is that those who are most angry, those who are angry with the direction of the country, what Obama has done with regards to the economy, what he hasn't done on some other things, or what the Democrats haven't done on some other things, those are the people who seem to be most likely to say they're following the election closely, and most likely to say that they're going to turn out to vote.
So a lot of money, I guess, is going to get spent in the next 96 hours, not only on TV, but on get out the vote operations. How do those work? What are the kinds of things that we're going to see at ground level in communities around the country in the next 4 or 5 days?
Well, you're going to see a lot of individuals walking the streets this weekend, knocking on doors, reminding individuals where the poll is, what the hours are of the poll, where resources are, and encouraging them to get out to vote. You're going to be seeing a lot of work in the churches. Individuals will be receiving a lot of phone calls, and I wouldn't be surprised if every other commercial you see is a political commercial. So, and the community will be indulged in this, and they will be constantly hit. Various television stations have done a commitment to make sure to run PSAs of nonpartisan, non-candidate focus to be sure to get out. But at the same time, you'll also start seeing some very hateful and some very angry ads and some very angry and hateful stories that'll get leaked or get shared in order to try to sway or to provide some to discredit either the incumbent or the opponent candidate. And so that's something that we had to be prepared for, because as was shown earlier, a lot of those ads and a lot of those things have been anti-immigrant or anti-Latino in order to create some type of fear. So as a Latino community, we need to be very vigilant of it, we need to denounce it, and we need to not let that intimidate us to stay at home. In fact, we should use that energy, channel it, and make sure we go November 2nd and take a car full of our neighbors or friends that are U.S. citizens and registered to vote.